Hi everyone, good afternoon. So, welcome sa ating 24 viewers. Okay, I'm expecting more to join us here this afternoon. So, maybe some of them are still doing something. So, we'll just wait for the rest, to join us this afternoon. So, for today's lecture, we're going to talk about how to design a matching test, and also after the discussion, we're going to discuss also designing an essay test. Okay, this will be the last two remaining lectures for designing a test. Just to remind you or to refresh you, we discussed about multiple choice test, true or false test, and I think we also discussed supply test, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So for today, we're going to discuss about designing a matching test. I think we are now ready to start our lecture. Okay. So once again, to all our viewers, welcome to our lecture discussion on assessment in learning. Our focus for today would be on designing a matching test and designing an essay test. So if you guys have questions, just like what we've been doing, please just ask any question by typing your question on the comment box anytime, even during our lecture. Okay, you can just ask any question, and whenever I see your question, I'm going to answer them. Okay, we're going to post for during the lecture, and then I'm going to answer your questions. Okay, please let me know if you guys can hear me. Maybe I could need some thumbs up, maybe, just to let you know, just to let me know that I can hear or you can hear me. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Okay, and also Annalyn. Okay, and everybody, I am sure naririnig nyo ako dyan. Okay, sabi ni Florian, naririnig daw. Right, and also Alan. Okay, thank you for responding. So we start now. Um, when we talk about a matching test, this is another objective type of test. Okay, usually matching type test measures understanding and remembering, but if you are going to increase the difficulty of a matching test, it could also measure higher order thinking skills. Okay, all right. Its format consists of two columns. So we have the premise, and then the other one would be the responses. Okay, including one with a definition or phrase and another with a word, number, or a symbol. So each item in the first column, as they are called the premises or the questions involved in the matching test, and those that are found on the second column are called the responses in the matching test. So typically, the items in the first column are numbered, while the items in the second column are labeled with alphabetical letters. Okay, so this is an example showing the parts of a matching test. Okay, so we have here the premises or the stem. So they are numbered here. Okay, and usually they are longer as compared to the responses or the answer, which are uh, represented here by letters. Okay, so we have male parts of a flower, female parts of a flower, part that looks like a sticky knob and then helps protect the bud. Okay, and we have here the responses. We have the sepal, pistil, stigma, stamen, and the ovary. Okay, so these are the parts of a matching type item. Okay, I'm sure you are not new to this because most of the time in your exams, your teachers would include a matching test. So when are we going to use a matching test? Okay, when you need to measure the learner's ability to identify the relationship or association between similar items, then you would go for matching test. Okay, um, so in most no in most in all cases, the first column is matched with the second column. Okay, and usually the students will be able to answer the matching type test correctly if they can establish the relationship or association between the two columns. Okay, so examples which can be included in a matching test would be terms and definitions, causes and effects, symbols and proper names. Okay. You can also have an object or a picture and then there's a label, scenarios and responses, and so on. It could be names of scientists and their inventions. Okay. For science, in math, maybe a problem, a mathematical problem on the first column, and then the answer on the second column. Or it could also be mathematical terms on the first column, and then we have the mathematical definitions. Okay, so there are so many ways on how are you going to use your matching tests or topics that you could include in your matching test. So there are advantages and disadvantages of using a matching test. So we start with the advantages. It provides objective measurement of student knowledge. Okay, so objective meaning unbiased measurement of student knowledge. And then we also have it allow comparison of related ideas, concept, or theories. Since we have two columns, just like what I said, you will be able to answer a matching type test if the students could establish a relationship between the two columns. Disadvantages may overestimate learning due to the influence of guessing. Okay, just like any type of test that requires students to choose an answer from a list of possible answers, there will always be uh, it will always be affected by guessing. So sometimes you can over or underestimate learning due to the overestimate learning due to the influence of guessing. Meaning, students who are lucky enough to just guess the answer and get it correctly may get a higher score, and we will as teachers we might overestimate learning because of that. Okay, which of course is not a true picture of the learning which occurred. Okay, dahil nga ano lang guessing lang kaya mataas yung nakuha nila. Okay, that's why I said when a student is lucky enough and they were able to get high scores by just guessing, then um, the repercussion would be for the teacher to make um, an incorrect judgment. Okay, that is, of course, moving on to the next lesson, assuming that the students learned a lot from the discussion because of their scores, which are high. And we do not know if they really know the answer to the questions or they were just guessing it. Okay. Then another disadvantage would be it may limit assessment to lower levels of understanding. That's why I said earlier, most of the time, matching tests are used in measuring lower level thinking skills. Okay. But like what I said, you can also increase the difficulty level of a matching test by including another um, column. Okay, just like in a true or false test, you can also reduce the chances of guessing by adding another option. Okay, so same is true with matching test. If you would like to uh, add the degree of difficulty of the test, you can add a third column. Okay, all right. So these are simple guidelines that you might consider in constructing or designing a matching type test. Number one is for you to check your objectives to make sure that the types of question in the matching test is appropriate. Okay, so if your objectives calls for remembering and understanding, or maybe a bit of application or analysis, then you go for um, matching test. Okay, always bear in mind that we have to um, make sure that when we are designing a test, that there is an alignment in your objectives and the test items. Okay? So kailangan may alignment siya palagi. Then give clear instructions and directions. Okay? This is very important. Sometimes if the instructions and directions are not clear, the students will be very challenged. I mean, will find it difficult to answer the matching test because the instruction and directions, which is supposed to guide them, are not clear. Okay, so dapat clear siya. So for example, what is found in column A, what is found in column B, and what should the students do? Okay. And then we also have here include more responses in the premises or allow responses to be used more than once or vice versa. This is very important. Just like in the binomial choice test, we always include an extra response. Okay, so that when the student will answer the last question, the student will still be choosing an answer. Okay, hindi yung pag last question na, iisa na lang natira kasi wala kang extra na response, yun na automatically yung isasagot niya kahit hindi niya binasa yung question number 10, for example, if it's 10-item test. Okay? So, put an extra response, usually found in the second column. So, question is how many? Ideally, there should be one or two. Okay? Pero kapag gusto mong sobrang i-increase yung difficulty, you can add more. But of course, ayaw naman natin na pahirapan yung mga estudyante natin, especially for tests that would require a small amount of time to answer it. Okay? So, siguro, ideally, there should be one or two more extra responses in the matching tests. Okay, next, arrange items in column B in logical order or vice versa. Okay, pwedeng alphabetically arrange yung mga responses, yung mga nasa column B. Okay, pwedeng ganon. Pwede rin either alphabetically arranged na descending or in ascending order. Okay, so basta logical yung order nila. Then put the items with more words in column A or the first column. Okay. Usually, uh, the items with more words, for example, a description of a term, for example, usually nilalagay dapat siya sa column A. But I see some teachers doing the opposite. Okay. It won't hurt, but of course, ideally, it is better if you put the ones with the longer what do you call this, more words in column A, and then the terms in column B. Okay, then keep the two sets of items homogeneous. Okay, so there should be homogeneity in both column A and B. In a matching test, you will only use a matching test if the items included in the matching test are similar. Okay, I mean, for example, dun sa pinakita natin kanina, all of these, let me just go back dito. Okay, so if you notice here, these are parts of a flower. Okay, so all the items here, the 4 items, are all parts of a flower. Okay, you cannot include an item that does not tackle about the parts of a flower. So if you want to ask questions about presidents and their vice presidents, for example, so dapat puro ganun lang yung tanong. Okay, or for example, kung operations involving polynomials, for example, puro ganun lang yung ilalagay nyo doon sa matching test. Okay? So that's what we mean when we say keep the 2 sets of items homogeneous. Okay? So take note of the homogeneity. Okay? Like what I said, dapat similar items lang, items that are focused on a topic ang ilalagay dito sa matching test. All right, avoid using patterns in the correct answer. Okay, so avoid using patterns in the correct answer. I remember when I was in high school yata or college, ayun, may message doon sa tamang sagot, pagkaka-arrange nung mga sagot sa column B. Okay? It's exciting, but it would affect the validity of the test. Kasi pag nakuha na nila yung message doon, kahit di na nila basahin, masasagutan na nila at mas madaling magkopyahan pag gano'n. So make sure that there is no pattern in the correct answer. Okay, and then do not list premises in the same order as the responses. Yung tama, yung A, number 1, ang tamang sagot is A. Number 2, ang tamang sagot is B. So, huwag niyo gagawin yon. Okay? So, randomize them. Okay? And then, there should be no keyword appearing in both a premise and a response, providing a, providing providing a clue to the correct match. Okay? So, be careful, guys. Doon sa paglalagay ninyo. Okay? For example, ano pa bang pwede nating gawing example? Basta bawal maglagay ng term doon sa column A na makikita mo rin sa column B. Kasi pag merong the same term doon, obviously, yun na yung kanyang sagot. And avoid providing clues. Ano? For example, let's say, presidents, ang nilagay mo, tapos yung kanilang mga notable works, and then doon sa choices mo ay, doon sa column B, iisang babae lang doon, tapos sa column A, meron kang nilagay doon, she is the ganito, blah, blah, blah. So that's already a clue. Okay? She is a girl, and then sa column B na choices mo, isang babae lang yung nilagay mo doon, and that is already a clue. So wag niyong gagawin yon. All of the items, responses, and premises should appear on the same page of a test paper. Okay? Ang hirap. Okay? I'm sure you know the struggle kapag nasa page 1 yung kalahati ng matching test and then nasa page 2 yung kalahati ng matching test. Okay? Nasubukan ko na ito dati, no? I mean, as a student. Okay? Kayo ba nasubukan niyo na rin na nagpa-matching test yung teacher ninyo? And then some of the choices are found at the other side or on the next page. Okay? Or minsan talaga yung struggle na mahirap kung nasa back page, ano? Nasa front yung iba, then the rest is nasa back. Grabe yung struggle mo doon na sumagot. It will eat a lot of your time. So make sure, guys, when you include a matching test, in the test you will be designing, especially for a test that would include other types of tests, make sure that the whole matching test is found on the same page. Okay? Oh, yan. Sabi ni Ronalyn, nakakagulo. Sobrang nakakagulo. I know the feeling, you know. I experienced that many times already. And sobrang ubos na yung oras mo, nakakalito pa talaga tignan yung sagot sa likod, ano? Parang malilito ka. So, it's not because hindi mo alam yung isasagot mo, pero nakakalito nga yung nagfi-flip-flip ka ng pages. Okay? All right. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. That's it for the matching tests. Okay, so you all have to bear these simple guidelines in mind para makagawa kayo ng effective na matching tests. Okay? I remember I just wanted to share to you I took a test, but this test is for a job application. Okay? In one of the companies in Manila. And then I took a test and there is this item na meron siyang matching test. Okay? So parang 10 items na matching test pero ang choices hanggang letter Z. Okay? Like 26 uh, responses. Sobrang hirap. Ano? 26 responses and 10 lang yung premises niya. So yun, sobrang hirap. I was told na sobrang hirap daw ipasa nung exam nung company na yon. Alright, so it was really a very tough test. Meron pa nga silang ano dun multiple choice, may item number 1. Ang choices nila is from A to J or K, parang gano'n, A to K. Yung choices nung multiple choice test. So, talagang sobrang hirap. But of course, sa classroom setting, hindi naman natin puwedeng gawin yon ano? Lalong-lalo na sa atin nga, parang 1 hour or 1 hour and a half lang yung ating exam. So, and usually, matching test is part of a bigger test pa, no? Na meron pang multiple choice, may essay test pa siya. So, hindi natin puwedeng gawin yon. Okay, kasi mauubos yung oras ng estudyante. Babagsak siya hindi dahil hindi niya alam, but because of time constraints. Okay, so like what I said, ideally 1 or 2 extra responses is enough. Okay, do you guys have questions? Medyo madali lang itong live natin ngayon, ano? Because we're just going to discuss 2 topics, which is matching test and the essay test. All right, so at this point, uh, do you guys have questions or everything is clear? Okay. I am welcoming questions or maybe if you guys would like to share some experiences, which you've experienced as students, pwede nyo i-share yan, ano? Just don't mention names. Names that we know. So, pwede kayong mag-share ng mga experiences ninyo or realizations maybe. Okay? All right. So, can somebody tell me if we can proceed now to the next or may mga magsi-share ba diyan? Okay, si Kimberly, ayan, si John Patrick Garcia. Ayun, nung high school daw si Junmar, na-notice lang na madalas may pasobra pang isa or dalawang choices sa multiple choice type of test po. Matching type siguro ang ibig mong sabihin, Junmar. Yeah, that's allowed, ano? Kailangan para up to the last item ay namimili pa rin yung estudyante. Ibig sabihin, nag-iisip pa rin siya, trying to establish the relationship of the premise and the remaining 2 to 3 responses. Yeah. So that's very ideal, ano? Okay, so looks like the rest are not responding. Oh, let me know if I could proceed. Sabi ni Kimberly, mag-proceed na. How about the rest? Sir, is it alright to make a matching type test na yung sagot pareho? I mean, sir, sa isang question, dalawa ang sagot. Yeah, I think I included that, ano, dito kanina. There's let me go back to the slide. Hindi ko lang ano, ito, include more responses in the premises or allow responses to be used more than once or vice versa. Yeah. Uh, Two premises or questions may be answered by a single response. Okay? Pwede siya. Pwedeng gawin 'yon. So, pwede 'yon. Cherry Ann. Si Cherry Ann ba 'yan? Yeah. So, isang question, dalawa ang sagot. Isang question, dalawa ang sagot. Okay? Sometimes they would let you answer both, ano? 'Pag isa lang ang sinagot mo, mali yata, parang gano'n. May gano'n, eh. Sabi ko nga, 'wag na kayong mag-include ng gano'n, kasi you are just confusing the students. So, kung dalawa yung response dapat sa tanong na yun, 'di dalawa ang ilagay mo dun sa choices. Pero much better kasi for the sake of homogeneity, much better na ang i-include mo lang na tanong doon ay yung iisa lang ang sagot, para lahat sila ay iisa lang, okay? Like what I said before, the purpose of assessment is not to trick the students during the test, but to measure, okay, learning, ano. So yun, wag na natin silang lituhin. Okay, so yeah. So, mag-proceed na daw tayo, sabi ng dalawang estudyante. Alright, so, that could also be one reason, Junmar, that there is a typographical error. Pero, kung tatandaan ninyo sa general guidelines natin before in constructing a tests, sabi natin na before we administer the test, we have to proofread the test, ano? Proofread. Check natin mabuti kung may mga spelling anomalies, okay, o may mga na-repeat na mga questions or choices before natin i-administer yung test. Okay, so that's part of designing an effective objective type of test, right? Para maiwasan natin yan, okay? So we now proceed to essay tests. Okay, designing an essay test. Oops. Ayan, nawala. So designing an essay test. As a teacher, this is probably one of the easiest to prepare. The kind of test that is easiest to prepare. It's easy also to make a table of specification for this type of test because a single essay question is worth already 5-10 points. Okay, so it's pretty easy to construct these kinds of tests. Okay, but of course, like what I said, there should be an alignment in your objective and the type of test that you are going to choose. So if the objective calls for higher order thinking skills, then you may go for an essay test. Do not just choose an essay test because it's easy to construct, okay? While it is easy to construct, it is also very hard to score. It consumes a lot of time when you are going to score an essay test. And another issue in an essay test would be no matter how well designed your rubrics in checking or in scoring an essay test, subjectivity will still play a role. Okay? So, yun yung nakikita ko na disadvantage ng essay test. The part where the teacher becomes very subjective. Okay? So, hindi siya mawawala. But, of course, I'm going to show you some tips later on kung paano natin ma-reduce yung subjectivity in checking an essay test. But first, take a look at the two types of essay tests. Okay, one is the restricted response, and the other is the extended response. When we talk about restricted response, these essay questions limit what the students will discuss in the essay based on the wording of the question. Okay, I'll give you an example which I have lifted from the internet. This example is an example of a restricted response essay question. Okay, state the main difference between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson's beliefs about federalism. So in this question, the students will what the students is to write about has been expressed to them within the question. Okay, so in other words, the students will only state the main difference or differences between the beliefs of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson's. Okay, they cannot go beyond, okay, what was expressed, what was stated, okay, in the question. That's why it's called restricted response. As opposed to extended response, this type of essay question will allow the students to select what they wish to include in order to answer the question. In other words, what they wish to include. In restricted response, what they will include is already identified in the question. Okay, it's already identified in the question. All right, so example of an extended response question, essay question would be in Of Mice and Men, was George's killing of Lenny justified? Explain your answer. So in this question, the students are given the overall topic, but they are free to use their own judgment and integrate outside information or their opinion uh, to support their opinion. Okay? So mas free yung estudyante na sagutin yung extended response. And most of the time, yung mga questions na nakikita ko sa mga teacher-made tests are extended response tests, okay? Pero 'pag sinabi sa inyo na differentiate, 'pag gano'n lang ang sagot, ayun, I think when you're asked to differentiate, that's restricted response. Kasi gano'n lang yung especially if you are going to differentiate only, yung identified na mga differences ng dalawang terms or siguro dalawang tao in terms of their achievement, for example, or yung similarities nila, then that would be restricted. Okay? Extended usually asks you to ask opinionated questions. Okay? Asks you to justify. Okay? So usually ganun yung restricted, extended response. Okay? So those are the two types of essay tests. Okay, when are we going to use an essay test? Essay tests are useful for teachers when they want students to select, organize, analyze, synthesize, and or evaluate information. Evaluate or give judgment, okay, on a certain topic or on an information. In other words, we give an essay test if we want to measure higher order thinking skills of our learners, of our students. Okay? Kung yun ang gusto ninyo, ay essay test ang gagamitin natin. Okay? Regardless whether that is restricted or extended response. Higher order thinking skills ang minimeasure ng essay test. Now, To make sure that the students or your students will perform well in an essay test, make sure that they are equipped with these skills before they take the essay test. Okay? Minsan, maraming estudyante na alam kung ano yung isasagot nila, but they find it hard to construct a sentence maybe. So, nahihirapan sila. Their low scores in the essay tests is due to their inability to construct a sentence. May ganon. So make sure that these skills, that the students are equipped with these skills that are required for an essay test. Number one is the ability to select appropriate material from the information learned in order to best answer the questions. In other words, sa words natin, dapat lahat ay naintindihan nila yung mga previous topics ninyo para hindi lang nila memorize or something, dapat naintindihan nila yung mga previous topics ninyo so that when you ask them an essay question, they can select the appropriate topic which you have discussed to include in their essay to answer the question. Okay? So, dapat talaga ay naintindihan nila yung mga topics before you proceed to the next topic. Okay? That's very important. The ability to organize that material in an effective manner. Yun nga. Yung sinabi ko na yan kanina, no? Then, the ability to show how ideas relate and interact in a specific context. Okay? Before an essay test, you can do during the discussion, for example, in the classroom, whether that be face-to-face or online, you can ask questions sa mga estudyante to stimulate their thinking, para nang sa gano'n ay makita mo if they can organize their thoughts, in answering your questions, okay, related to the topic. So napakaimportante na may tanong kayo sa mga estudyante niyo and you help and you elicit answer from them, okay? That will give you an idea if your students can organize materials effectively, okay? And also to show ideas, the relationship of different ideas. And then the ability to write effectively in both sentences and paragraphs. Yeah, that's very important. Okay. I know that a lot of the students right now are finding it difficult to write even a single paragraph to answer an essay question. Ngayon, online learning nga tayo. Grabe yung plagiarism ng mga estudyante ngayon. Okay. Ah, sobrang hindi ko alam kung hindi sila marunong magsulat ng essay, okay? Kahit single paragraph man lang sana or tinatamad lang sila kasi most of the time yung mga answer ng mga estudyante ay kinuha lang nila, kinapi-paste sa internet at pinagtatagpi-tagpi lang nila from different sources, okay? Maybe students think that teachers or their teachers don't notice that. We too notice that, okay? Lalo na kapag kung ano-ano lang yung pinagka-copy paste mo dun, sometimes walang coherence or walang kinalaman yung every sentence na copy paste, na pinaghalo-halo, okay? So, if students keep doing that, then they will not be able to practice writing sentences and paragraphs to answer an essay question. Okay, you have to practice writing on your own. Okay, grammar. Yeah, I know a lot of you or a lot of students now are finding it difficult to construct a grammatically correct um, paragraph. Meron at meron pa rin siyang mali, but you know, if you keep practicing, then makikita niyo. So, makikita niyo yung mga mali ninyo at mako-correct ninyo as you keep doing it. Okay? So, I advise you guys, since you will all become future teachers, to be truthful and be honest in answering essay questions, even with the kind of situations that we have now. Because, like what I said, we noticed that that the answers that you provided in that essay question did not come from you. Okay? Makikita namin, alam namin kung galing mismo sa estudyante yung sinagot niya doon. Okay? And I'm sure you don't want your future students to do that to you also. Okay? So do not do that to us, to your teachers now. Okay? Like what I said, you will become teachers in the future. Okay? So, sabi nga nila, what goes around comes around. Ayun. All right? So these are the skills. Make sure that these skills, that your students are equipped with these skills for them to take the essay test. So these are now the tips in constructing an effective essay test. Guys, if you have questions, like what I said, you can just ask anytime. Okay? I-type nyo lang dyan sa baba, dyan sa chat box natin, yung mga tanong ninyo. And then once I see them, I'm going to answer your questions. Okay? So, yan. I really love students who are asking questions. Kasi pag walang tanong, parang feeling ko wala silang naintindihan. Okay? All right. So we proceed now with the tips in constructing an effective essay question. Okay. So, yeah. Begin with the lesson objectives in mind. Make sure to know what you wish the students to show by answering the essay questions. So it's like what I said, in constructing any type of test, we always begin with our lesson objectives. Okay, always begin with your lesson objectives. Okay, and then decide if your goal requires a restricted or extended response. In general, if you wish to see if the students can synthesize and organize the information that they learn, then restricted response is the way to go. However, if you wish them to judge or evaluate something using the information taught during the class, then you will have to use the extended response. Okay, I think I mentioned that earlier. Okay, so that's when to use either restricted or extended response. Then, if you are including more than one essay, be cognizant of time constraints. You do not want to punish students because they ran out of time on a test. Okay? Yun bang meron ka ng 1 to 30 na multiple choice, then binomial choice test na 15 items, and then meron kang matching types na 10 items, and then part 4 would be essay. 6 na questions ang binigay mo. Sobrang ano yun, ah parusa sa mga estudyante yon, okay? Tapos binibigyan mo lang sila ng 1.5 hour, okay? So, make sure to balance ano, 'pag maraming types of tests, maraming items, then you have to limit your essay question. Sa akin 'pag maraming types of tests in, end of the unit test, I ask a single or 2 questions, a single or a couple of questions only for essay tests. Okay? Then write the question in a novel or interesting manner to help motivate the students. Okay? Do not just ask a question na state the ganito in your own words. Okay? State the law of inertia in your own words. So it would be better if you are going to write a question in about the law of inertia. Okay? Maybe a situation, maybe, and then you are going to ask a question so that they could answer it. Your question, so that they will be motivated to answer your question. Okay. Then state the number of points that the essay is worth. You can also provide them with a time guideline to help them as they work through the exam. Okay? So, pwede rin yun, ano? In the basic education, kapag multiple types of tests yung nasa exam nila, halimbawa, 20 items na, ang tawag dito, multiple choice test, lalagyan nila ng time doon. 20 items for 20 minutes only, then matching test na 10 items, 15 minutes only, so may gano'n. So, pwede kayo maglagay ng gano'n, okay? Or, you have to include also kung ilan, points per essay, okay? So, importante 'yon. If your essay item is a part of larger objective test, make sure that it is the last item on the exam, okay? Usually gano'n naman ano, wala pa akong nakikita na test na inuna yung essay, tapos multiple choice test and binomial choice test. Usually you'll find essay questions at the last part, and that's very ideal. You might ask me why? Why do we have to put it on the last part? Because answering an essay test is time consuming. So you don't want the students to consume much of the time and then magkakram na sila dun sa ibang parts later on. So gusto mo nasa last part yan. And then the reason why it's very ideal to put the essay item at the last part of a larger part of objective test is because um, essay questions are harder, to answer. Okay? And it's difficult to answer essay questions. So, ang idea kasi natin sa isang exam is wag natin hayaan matroma yung estudyante at the start of the test. Okay? Kasi kung na-trauma na siya sa unang tanong mo na napakahirap, definitely magkakaroon ng psychological effect na mahihirapan na siya, mawawala yung mga ni-review niya. Okay? That's why ideally, yung mga nauunang items sa test, like for example, prelim or midterm or final examinations, yung mga first few items are easy ones. Okay? Even when you will be making your test also, you have to design it that way. Madadali muna yung mga few questions. And then, yan na, ilalagay na yung mga average, then difficult, then very difficult questions. And then essay, ano? So, ganun yung gagawin natin pag nagde-design tayo ng uh, end of the unit tests or chapter tests or summative tests as a whole. All right. One of the downfalls of essay tests is that they lack in reliability. Even when teachers grade essays with a well-constructed rubric, subjective decisions are made. Therefore, it's important to try and as be as reliable as possible when scoring your essay items. So, yun yung binabanggit ko na kanina. All right. So, do you guys have questions regarding the tips in constructing an effective essay question? Because I'm asking you to ask questions now, because I will be uh, giving you a task that is to construct a matching test and essay questions. Okay. Of course, all based from our discussion for today. Okay, okie dokie. Okay, questions? Now this is your time to ask a question. Okay. Now try to look back on the essay questions which were given to you by your teachers maybe, and then let me know, okay, if you encountered like something that is against what we have discussed today, and we'll see. Maybe that could be a good a discussion point, right? So yeah, maybe you guys can share experiences or observations on the essay questions which were given to you by your teachers. Okay, like what I said, do not name drop. Okay. So at the moment we have 53 viewers. This is a very low turnout. Okay, I think your broadcast is delayed, so I'll wait for you guys to ask questions. Meron ba? Meron pa ba kayo diyan? Question is, are you guys still there? Or are you cooking dinner na? Baka nagluluto na kayo. O wala nang sumasagot sa kanila or delayed na yung broadcast ninyo? Okay, so yeah. Um, yeah, si Kimberly none daw. Wala kayong tanong. Parang si, Kimberly, si Florian, parang sila lang yung ano, yung mga nandito, ano, nagre-respond. Maybe the rest are doing something else? Ayan, si Horario. Ako lahat kayo walang tanong, ayan. Yeah, sabi, all goods pagdating sa essay sir, pero minsan, ano sabi ni Kimberly, yan, i-show natin. So, Kimberly said, all goods pagdating sa essay sir, pero minsan, hirap i-analyze kasi malalim ng mga words. So yun, we could include that sa tip, ano, when constructing an essay question, please make sure that your words are easy to comprehend. Do not use vocabularies that are beyond the comprehension of your students. So, i-level ninyo sa estudyante ninyo yung mga words na ginagamit ninyo 'pag nagtatanong kayo o 'pag nagko-construct kayo ng essay question. Kasi hindi nila alam ang sagot sa tanong, kundi dahil hindi nila alam yung word na ginamit mo do'n. So, parang they might wonder, "Ano ba yung tinatanong nito?" So, ang ending, hindi nila masagot ng tama yung question, 'no? Okay. Yeah, that's a very good point, ayan, Kimberly. Tama 'yan, kasi nangyayari nga 'yan ano, sobrang lalim nung mga tanong. Parang ginawa kayong mga ano, vocabulary wizards nung teacher ninyo. Ta's 'pag tinanong mo sa kanya, "Sir, ma'am, anong ibig sabihin nung word na yun?" Pagagalitan ka pa. "Ano ba, college ka na hindi mo pa alam o kaya high school ka na, ang tanda mo na hindi mo pa gets 'yan." So, yung mga gano'n. Okay, that's a good sharing, Kimberly. You guys can also share ano, baka may gusto kayong i-share pa diyan, other than saying na none po sir, pare-pareho pa kayo, none, 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 none. Ayan, baka meron kayong gustong i-share din. Ayan, oh. Ayan, so meron naman dito kay Cherry Ann Cabasal. Sir, sa pag-score po ng essay madaya po. Na-experience ko po kasi kapag marami yung essay ilalagay na ang perfect score. Then yung iba nakokonti po kahit nandun yung point. I'll let you into a secret, Cherry Ann, okay? Most likely, kapag ganyan yung nangyari, na yung maraming sinulat, malaki ang score, yung kokonti ang sinulat, pero on point yung mga sinulat niya, kokonti ang score, hindi binasa nung nagche-check ng essay, okay? Hindi binasa yung mga essay ninyo, kaya ganun na lang yung ginawa nila. Yan nga yung sinasabi ko, essay tests are easy to construct, but they are hard. It's really hard and time consuming to score them. So kung tamad yung teacher kasi tamad siya, kaya puro essay yung kanyang binigay na test. So since tamad yung teacher mo, malamang tamad din siya mag-check. So, tinignan niya na lang ay kung sino yung pinakamahaba ng mga pinagsusulat, even without reading it, siyang perfect. Yung kakaunti, siya ang mababa. So, usually, yan. And I hope that as future teachers, hindi nyo gagawin yan. Okay? Huwag kayong mag-i-include ng essay question sa test ninyo kung hindi nyo mapanindigan na na-scorean niyan objectively. Okay? Kawawa naman yung estudyante. Malay mo yung mahaba yung sinagot, kinapi-paste pala niya o kaya baka mamaya, parang love letter yung gitna pala nung sinulat niya love letter niya sa jowa niya. Hindi mo binasa, binigyan mo ng perfect score. Nakakahiya sa part mo as a teacher. So whenever you ask your students to do something, like write an essay, make sure to read them and score them objectively and fairly. Okay? Yun. Yun. Okay? So, I'm not saying na may ganun kayong teacher, pero most likely that is the reason. Hindi binasa. Since tamad, so hindi niya binasa. Okay? And do not be tamad when you become teachers. Okay? Because I'm sure you know the feeling now because you're still a student. So, alam nyo na pag hindi binasa at unfairly scored yung essay nyo, na masakit sa loob nyo. So, huwag nyong gagawin yan later sa mga students ninyo. Alright? So, that's another good sharing, Cherry Ann. So, like what I said, when you decide to include an essay test and design an essay test, you make use of a rubric, ano, para mas madali yung pag-score. Okay? And of course, dapat basahin ninyo yung essay ng estudyante ninyo. Basahin talaga siya. Okay, so any other sharing? Okay, yung mga iba nagmamadali, puro none. None, sir. None. None. Puro none, poster. Clear. Yes. Ayan. Ayan, nadali mo, sabi ni Cherry Ann. Okay, so let us proceed. I think we still have another slide. Wala na pala. Ayan. Sinabi na natin kanina. So one of the downfalls of essay tests is that they lack in reliability. Even when teachers grade essays with a well-constructed rubric, subjective decisions are made. Therefore, it is important to try and be as reliable as possible when scoring your essay test. Okay? Meron pa pala tayo. Kala ko wala na tayong slides. Sorry guys, I thought magi-end na tayo. We still have a lot. I think we have 4 more slides. Okay? So may nagpapa-essay test pa daw na hindi related sa lesson. Okay? Sabi ni Joan or Joan Orario. Okay? Hindi pwede kasi ano, part of kung maalala nyo, sinabi ko kanina, part nung designing any type of tests is to look at your lesson objectives. From the lesson objectives, makikita mo kung anong type of test ang gagawin mo at kung paano mo i-design yung question mo for that objective. So, kung hindi related sa topic ninyo yung question niya, ibig sabihin, hindi niya tinignan yung mga lesson objectives ninyo. Di ba? Na itinuro niya. So, dapat meron sa lesson objectives. Okay? So, yun. Hindi pwede. It will affect, of course, yung validity ng test kasi you are asking a question that is not part of the lesson. So we have here Eric Ulep asked, Sir, sa words limit po. Yeah. For restricted response and for open-ended response, pwede kayong mag-set ng limit ng words. Okay? Pero wag naman sabihin na na 20 in 60 words, in exactly 60 words. answer this essay question. Hindi naman pwede yun kasi it's very impossible that all the students will be able to write an essay na ganun eksakto yung words. So, pwede siguro in not less than 200 words, that would be okay. Ano? In not less than 200 words. So, ibig sabihin may minimum ka na 200 words o pwede mo sabihin na in 200 to 300 words, pwede yon. Okay? May limit siya na 300 words lang. Okay? This will also test if the students can anong tawag dito, kung kaya nilang salain yung mga salient parts ng mga ideas nila to include doon sa essay nila since there is a limited number of words allowed to answer the essay question. So that's okay, Eric. Ayun. Alright, so yeah, that's good guys. Nagtatanong kayo ngayon. Now, speaking of scoring the test, sabi ko nga, nagkakaroon ng problema sa pag-i-score natin sa essay test because of subjectivity. Halimbawa, kilala mo yung estudyante na magaling, most likely mataas ang ibibigay mo sa essay niya, kahit hindi maganda yung nagawa niya. Tapos dun sa dating alam mo na hindi magaling, yun pala dun sa question mo talagang alam niya yung sagot, tapos maganda yung sinulat niya, since alam mo yung name niya, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng subjective na feeling na mababa dapat ang score niya kasi hindi naman siya nagpe-perform sa class. And when we become subjective, naapektuhan yung reliability ng results ng essay test natin. Now, para medyo at least mabawasan yung subjectivity natin and to ensure that our essay test results are reliable, pwede natin gawin itong mga sumusunod. Okay, number 1, prepare the essay rubric in advance. Determine what you are looking for and how many points you will be assigning each aspect of the question. Okay, so maglagay tayo ng rubric. I don't know if we were able to discuss rubric already. I think this is in assessment and learning 2. But yeah, I'm sure you were able to see a rubric already where there is a certain amount of points given, regardless if that is analytic or holistic. Pag analytic siya, may mga criteria siya. General criteria clustered together. So for example, one criterion in an essay test would be organization. Okay, how the students organize their thoughts. Then content. Then maybe you could add some points for grammar or sentence construction. So if these are the things that you are looking for, then those are the things that you are going to include in your rubric. Okay, and how do you know what you are looking for? You go back to your learning objectives. Ano ba yung learning objectives ng topic na yan? So dun ka magbe-base kung ano yung hahanapin mo. Okay? For example, ang learning objectives mo dun sa lesson na at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to, for example, recite a poem with confidence and blah, blah, blah. Halimbawa, yung how to recite a poem, for example. Hindi pala pwede ang recite a poem. Pwede rin, And then you are going to ask questions about reciting a poem. Pwede rin siguro. Well, that's a very loose example. So, prepare the rubric in advance, okay? Avoid looking at names. Some teachers have students put numbers on their essay to try and help with this. So, yun sinabi ko kanina. Para hindi ka maging unfair, pwedeng during the test, do not let your students put their names on the answer sheet, You assign numbers. Pwedeng pagbunutin mo sila. Halimbawa, if there are 40 students in the class, kapag, halimbawa, sa midterm, may essay test ka, so pwedeng ganon, Pagbunutin mo sila ng number, 1 to 40 students. Kung ano yung nabunot nila, yun lang ang code na ilalagay nila doon sa answer sheet. Now, dapat meron kang control doon sa number. In other words, bibigyan mo sila ng parang attendance sheet, okay, na nanumberan ng 1 to 40, kung ano yung nabunot nilang number, dun nila isusulat yung name nila. Para 'pag nagche-check ka na ng papel, hindi mo alam kung kaninong papel yon kasi walang name. So, when you record the paper, dun ka lang titingin doon sa iyong, anong tawag dito, master list, kung saan nila sinulat yung mga names nila, doon sa number na nabunot nila. Okay? So, 'yan, makakabawas yan ng subjectivity. Then, score one item at a time. This helps ensure that you use the same thinking and standards for all students. So, for example, there are two essay items in the test. Ang gagawin mo, para make sure na pare-pareho yung standard na magagamit mo, ay lahat muna ng item number 1 ng 40 students mo ang iche-check mo. Wag yung student number 1, chineck mo na yung kanyang student A, chineck mo yung essay 1 and 2 niya. Then punta ka sa student B, essay 1 and 2 din. No, mas maganda kung student A, essay 1 muna, then you proceed to student B, essay number 1 ulit, and then all the students puro essay number 1 muna lahat. Para yung standards mo, mako-compare mo doon sa mga chineck mo dito sa mga previously. Okay? Alright? Kasi minsan 'pag 1, 2, 1, 2 ang pag-check natin, pagbalik mo para sa pang-10 estudyante, iba na naman yung standard na nagamit mo. Baka you tend to score higher this time, ano? So, mas maganda na number 1 muna lahat ng estudyante, and then after matapos yung number 1, number 2 naman lahat. Okay? Alright. Avoid interruptions when scoring a specific question. Again, consistency will be increased if you grade the same item on all the papers in one sitting. O, tama yun, ano? So, if you have 40 students, when you score item number 1 na essay, make sure na in one sitting ma-scorean mo lahat yung 40 students. Hindi pwede yung 10 muna ngayon, tapos bukas yung 10. Kasi baka bukas, mas generous ka magbigay ng points. Okay? And then the next day, mas generous ka na naman. Then the next day, nag-away kayo ng jowa mo. Galit na galit ka, so nag-i-score ka. Napagdiskitahan mo yung essay question. Mababa ka magbigay ng points. So in one sitting, score. Okay? The specific question. Okay? Pwedeng item number 1, ngayong araw mo lahat ng 40 estudyante mo, i-check mo. May item number 2, bukas pwede mong i-check, scorean naman ngayon yung item number 2. Pero in one sitting din. Okay? And then, if an important decision like an award or scholarship is based on the scores of the essay, obtain 2 or more independent readers. Okay? Kapag a lot of things are at stake, like sabi dito, award or scholarship, dapat maraming tao mag-i-score doon. Okay? Para mag-comparean na kayo ng scores ninyo to see if there is consistency. Alright? So, yeah. I think meron pa tayo. Beware of negative influences that can affect essay scoring. This include handwriting and writing style bias, the length of the response, ito na yung nagbanggit kanina, and the inclusion of irrelevant materials. So, the essay responses of the students should not be affected by their very bad handwriting or their handwriting styles. Okay? Ayaw mo ng print, kaya mababa ang ini-score mo sa kanya. Kasi gusto mo cursive writing dapat, hindi pwede yon. Mababa, ito yung binanggit nung isa kanina, mababa ang ini-score mo sa kanya kasi maigsi yung sagot niya. Mataas yung ini-score mo sa kanya dahil ang haba ng isinagot niya. May mga irrelevant material din naman pala dun sa mahaba sumagot. Okay? So, yon. Do not do that, ano? That's why it's very important that you read, okay, the answers of your students to an essay question. Review papers that are on the borderline a second time before assigning a final grade. Ibig sabihin, if binigyan mo ng mababang ng score na parang malapit na sanang pumasa o kaya nasa gitna lang siya, i-review mo yung papel na yon. Okay? Try to review, baka pwede mong madagdagan yung score niya. Okay? So, basahin mo siya ulit yung papel before you put your final grade. Is it okay to erase your initial score in an essay test after reviewing, because you reviewed it? Yes, you can change it. ano, you can change it. You can change your scores pag ni-review mo siya ulit. Okay? So those are just some guys tips on how you're going to score an essay test item, okay, to make sure that the results of the essay test are reliable and to make sure that there is consistency in scoring the test items. Okay, so that's the end of our slide. Yay, feeling ko tuwang-tuwa na kayo. Ayan. So, thank you guys. So, meron ba kayong sharing ulit? I really love hearing your experiences, okay? Sobrang natutuwa ako 'pag may naririnig ako na shine-share ninyo ng mga experiences ninyo, okay? So, if you notice here, itong picture natin na thank you ay hindi niyo nababasa. Anong ibig niyan? Kung na nakasulat ang thank you, only yung mga tip nito, okay? So, yan lang. But you can still read it as thank you, ayun. Anong kinalaman niyan sa lecture natin ngayon? Actually, wala. Nagkamali lang ako ng lagay. Okay, do you guys have questions? Or sharing ulit of your experiences? Okay, this has been a very productive day. May nag-OT tayo ngayong araw na 'to. But if you would like to share something or ask a question pa, puwede pa. Okay, I could accommodate more questions or sharings. Ayan, sabi ni Kimberly wala na daw. Magluluto ka ba, Kimberly? Actually, ako magluluto pa mamaya. Ako ang nakatoka na ano, magluto. Pero hindi ako nagmamadali. Baka may mga gusto pa kayong i-share. Ayun, si Cherry Ann, parang galit na galit. Sabi niya, wala. Okay, yung iba, no? I wonder what are the rest of our viewers doing at the moment because they are not responding at all. Okay, so maybe yung mga magko-comment ngayon, sila yung ano, may attendance for today. Okay, before we end the lecture. Kasi yung iba parang wala lang. I don't know if they're still there or if they are doing something else. Ayun. Okay, anyway. Oh, feeling ko nga nagluluto na yung mga yan. Okay, o kaya baka mga chumichika sila. O baka nagti-TikTok gamit yung isang phone nila. Okay, so anyway, I think you guys don't have everything is clear and you don't have questions anymore. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me this afternoon. I know this is such a short notice. I'm going to make an announcement in your GC later on. Okay, so again, to all our 56 students who joined me this afternoon, thank you so much. And I hope you learned something today. I actually enjoyed this lecture because some of you shared some of their experiences. Right. So thank you again. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the evening. Good night and goodbye.